I want to welcome everybody to our April chapter meeting. The first person we have to do a presentation is Susan Blackledge. So Susan, I'm going to pass it to you now.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Can y'all hear me? Coming in?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. I'm Susan Blackledge. I'm the park manager at Berry Springs, and I want to show a PowerPoint presentation about the history of our pond. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Right here, this is at our gristmill shelter that's right next to the pond, and it shows what the original dam and the original gristmill that John Berry built. And this burr stone that was at this gristmill also came from the courthouse when the park was opened. This kind of just gives you a history of the park. The park land was built or was bought in 2001, and then they received a grant and with Parks and Wildlife to develop the land. This just tells you a little bit about the springs themselves and where they're located. They are part of the Edwards Aquifer, and Berry Springs is right here. The Edwards Aquifer starts way up here, but Waco, Belton, and goes all the way down to San Antonio. So it's quite lengthy. This is an aerial photo. I was fortunate to get to go up in a helicopter and take this picture of the pond. It's just under 4 acres, the pond is. The pond fills because of the major springs that we have. We have 2 right here at the spring deck. We have one right here, which is kind of across from the playground. We have one right here that is at the amphitheater area. And then we also have one out here that's out in the prairie. It's another aerial photo. This is just a nice picture of the dawn. And this is how the flow is. It was reported back when in the 1800s when John Berry was here that the springs flowed several million gallons per day. Of course, with all the usage in the area, that's slowed down quite a bit. But they do flow very, very well when we have rain, and it's nice because you can actually see the flow. This is right at the 2 major springs. You can see this little sandy area right here. That's where the springs are. If you were just be standing on the spring deck, we always tell people they're at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. I'm sorry, my air compressor is going off. It'll turn off here shortly. I'm in the office. Great timing. This is what we call, this is the spring that's right by the playground. The turtles, they like to sunbathe on this log. It's a great picture of Mick Price that used to work here too. This right here is a little pedestrian bridge that goes from the major spring area, spring deck, back to the west side of the pond. And there's a little dam right here where the water also flows, and this goes all the way back to the campground and then overflows into Berry Creek that is parallel to the park. This is how we received the pond. It was in very, very bad shape. All of this is silted in. It was very, very shallow. These are like China berry trees that were coming out of the mortar. The weight of those trees was breaking the mortar. It was leaking quite profusely, but yeah, it was bad. You can see all around it, and like I said, it was just this. It was really, really bad. One of our very first Eagle Scout projects was to dam it up with sandbags, and then you can see these are the China berry stumps that we cut off and treated. At one point, I asked Jim Rogers, our director, it was leaking, and he said, just put your finger in it and plug it up. I was like, no, that's not going to work, Jim. This is how it looked. This is the original beaver lodge. And we did have two beavers that lived there. And of course, when the land wasn't open to the public, those beavers had, their way of the land, and they weren't shy at all. And it was really, really neat because they would actually swim right up to you, and you could do photo opportunities all the time. But they would dam up our little overflow areas, and we'd have to clean it out every single day. So, and when the water went down, then you could really, really see how much vegetation and how much silt had accumulated over the years since 1846. And this was a major, major problem. This is how we cleaned the pond originally. Right underneath all this is milfoil, which is one of our major invasives. And underneath this is an old gate. And we would put that on the back of our John boat. And this rope is connected to a tractor. And we would row out to the other side and drop that gate and be pulled in, and would drag the bottom of the pond and bring up all this milfoil. And then we'd clean that off and just keep doing it over and over again. The San Gabriel Fly Fishing Club, when the park opened, they were really, really excited about volunteering because they wanted to fish in the pond. And so this was a routine of just trying to get rid of all that milfoil. It was a major, major project. There's another aerial of viewing of the it's a perfect greenhouse is what it is. 68 to 72 degrees. So if it freezes like it did, the only thing that would freeze and die would be the algae that floats on the top. Other than that, everything continues to to grow. So all this is floating on top, but underneath it is beautiful spring water. This is just common duckweed. If the wind blows, all of this will just go to the side. And again, you have beautiful, spring water. Wayne, you probably recognize these people. That's Winnie Bowen, Colleen Sweeney, Kathy Segara, and Valerie. I can't forget Valerie's last name. But in the beginning, this is what we did. We added floats to the rakes because they kept, ending up in the pond, and we had to go play lifeguard and pull them out. Juvenile Services adopted the park, and they give us 4 work days a year of helping to skim the pond. With COVID, we didn't get that, unfortunately, but from what I understand, they are coming back to help us out this summer during their summer school. This watercress, we don't have it in the pond anymore because we have raked it. But you could clear a hole like a 4-foot diameter with the rake and just bring that to the side. It was quite satisfying to do that because you really open up a nice clear area. But it's manual labor. Now we have a water tiller. And up in Michigan, this is a common backyard use a tool that they use for all the lakes. We drop that into the water, and you pull it off with the tractor, and it basically all the weeds get wrapped around the tines, and then that comes ashore, and then we clean that off. And again, we do that over and over again. This drain pipe here, originally we put that in there to level out the flow of the water, but since I won't skip ahead here, but anyway, this is no longer there. Again, our volunteers, he's wearing some milfoil. We call it Bob Marley hair, the milfoil. And here we have some more volunteers. And yes, we mix it with our donkey manure, and we make compost for the park. The park opened in 2005, but we had our first major drought in 2006. And the pond was just full of wide mouth bass, anywhere from, 13 to 16 pound, 15 pounds or whatever. They were huge. It was just unbelievable how many fish that we had in the pond. We also had grass carp too, and we lost those. There were 17 grass carp, and they weighed up to 65 pounds, and we lost those. So this is what it looks like when the pond dries up. Right here, this is just like a residual of what water is left. We tried to save the fish. These are little aerators, but it totally dried up. Since I've been here in 16 years, I've mowed this pond several times. I've sprayed it. I've pulled out cattails, and it's just ongoing thing to try to get the vegetation under control. So this was when the county decided it's time to fix the dam, and they came in, and I love this picture because it was just incredible, the work that they did. They had 5 dump trucks going, taking all this pond dirt out. Like I said, we just to increase the depth so that we could have more capacity. Also, that would help with controlling the aquatic vegetation. Up by where the residence house is, there was actually a quarry. I didn't add this into the things that we did with all that dirt, but we filled in the quarry, and we made a used bike trail and a 40 by 20 cactus garden. It was unbelievable how much dirt that they excavated. Here's our campground garden. But that was washed away in 2010, unfortunately. This is the old dam, and it was repaired, and they did a darn good job. This is the other dam. We fixed that, repaired it also. And we stopped the leaks all along the sides here, best that we could. Made a used bike trail, the pond dirt. And then the rain comes and it fills back the pond, and it looks absolutely beautiful. We also put in a well, 250-foot well, and this gentleman here, we call him the well man. That's his job. He said we had a $2 million well as far as the volume of water that comes out of that. So then we had an Eagle Scout project. They made a barrier around it to hide it, but eventually all the cedar posts, they died or decomposed, and so that's no longer there. We made a garden behind there. Southwest Regional Park. This is where all the fish that we tried to save when the pond went down, we had brought them over to Southwest Regional Park, and then it was time to go get them. So we got the San Gabriel Fly Fishing Club to come out and go fishing, and we caught 100 fish, and then we brought them back to Berry Springs. And this is how it looks after you clean the pond. We also started stocking the pond. We used to get the fish from the feed store. Now we get the pond stocked periodically from Texas Parks and Wildlife. They normally bring in wide mouth bass, the bluegill and the red ear sunfish. They produce pretty well by themselves. These little fish again came in from the feed store. And there's some big bass out there. This one's in 2010. This was the last time that we had snow like we did this year. Of course, it was nothing like this year. Then the rains came, and the dam that just had been repaired broke away. It was devastating. The park was closed for a month. It was really, really bad. It's County Road 152, fences were gone. It was really, really, it was all about 3 feet deep. This is the trail that parallels Berry Creek. That's what you're looking at. You can see our trash can back here, our bat houses. All the bollards, they popped off and like dominoes. And this was all the flooding. We had, hay bales wash in, railroad ties washed in. This is debris underneath the pedestrian bridge, and a big pecan actually fell down and was stuck underneath here. We had to get that removed. I actually saw fish on the sidewalk as I was walking. And then finally, there was enough money to build a new dam. And this time they decided to make it more of a waterfall dam instead of a dam that would enclose the water. We made lots of repairs. Unfortunately, it was vandalized at one point, which was very, very sad that somebody would do that. And then Commissioner Covey deemed that the pond was back open. We opened up the park after a month, but we still had a lot more cleaning up to do. Now the water flows over, and it's nice and beautiful. The wildlife has returned. The fishermen have returned. Wildflowers have returned, and all is good at Berry Springs. So this concludes my slide presentation. The only other thing I wanted to add, I hope you all got an invitation for my retirement party, and I would really love to see y'all. It'll be at the Tonkawa Pavilion on Friday, May 7th. The presentation will be from like 3 to 5, the main meeting. And then afterwards, we're going to dance and play dominoes and just have a good time. And you are all welcome. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Susan. That was very interesting. I learned a lot that I did not know about the park. Since I got here in 2012, I did not know some of the history. So thank you very much.